This is Catholic Forum. I'm Bob Krebs. At St. Jude the Apostle Parish in Lewis, Delaware, there's a brand new ministry called Stephen Ministry, and we're going to find out about it on this edition of Catholic Forum. I'd like to introduce, first of all, Bonnie Taylor, who is one of the people involved with the ministry, and Louise Farr, another person who is involved with the ministry. We're going to be talking about Stephen Ministry. Before we do that, ladies, let's get to know you a little bit. Bonnie, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would, please.
All right. I'm a native Delawarean. I moved from Newcastle County, and we moved to Lewis. My husband and I moved to Lewis, and we belonged to St. Jude's for 22 years.
Wow. Where in Newcastle County did you?
I grew up in Claymont.
Okay, nice.
And Holy Rosary, I went to that grade school. Father Lewis went to that grade school, several years different.
Yeah.
He also went to school with my son at Sally's.
Oh, interesting.
So then we moved. I moved from Claymont when I got married, lived in Wilmington, Pike Creek, and my husband wanted to retire, so we moved to Lewis, which was, I wasn't ready. I worked for DuPont, and it was the best move we ever made.
It's a great place. It's a great place to live, a great place to retire to. Louise, how about you?
Well, I'm originally from outside of Philadelphia, but I moved around quite a bit with my husband for his job. We moved from Severna Park, Maryland to Lewis, Delaware because my husband was opening a business.
Oh.
So that's how we got there.
What type of business, may I ask?
It was medical imaging.
Oh, nice. Very good. And that's how you ended up from Severna Park to
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes.
That's great.
And we knew nothing about Lewis, really. Most people come because they had visited there, but we really didn't know anything about it.
Yeah. Good. Are you retired now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Your husband as well?
Yes, we're
Good.
both retired.
Great. So you're living the good life in Lewis, Delaware, and just decided to start a new ministry, right?
Yeah, we kind of just fell into it.
Yeah. Tell us about, what is Stephen Ministry?
Stephen Ministry is our lay ministers that offers spiritual and emotional support. We are not counselors. We are there if people are going through a life challenge, say lost your job or you're grieving. We would meet with them. One-on-one, one-to-one is how Stephen Ministry puts it. And listen, the training, we learn how to listen, to be compassionate, empathetic. And we have a really large parish now, and the deacons and the pastor don't always have time to spend with everybody daily, and so this kind of helps. It helps them. Of course, nobody could ever replace our priests and deacons, but we're there after the crisis. They've talked to the priests and need someone just to listen. We're non-judgmental, non-denominational.
So how did you learn about this ministry?
Well, I'm on this social concerns committee at church, and the person who was head of our social concerns meeting went to the pastoral council to meet and introduce us. And Deacon Al said, well, you should look into Stephen Ministry. And we're going, what the heck is Stephen Ministry? And so he kept saying, we need to do this, we need to do this. So I said, well, I'll do it. So I'll just check on it so you don't have to. And when I did, I made it. I talked about it at our meeting, and Father Lewis was at that meeting. And he said, oh, that's really good. We need to find out more information. And I had information that I got from Stephen Ministry. He said, well, you need to talk to people in the parish, people who have it. And so who's going to follow up on that? So I'm kind of going. And everybody looks at me. I said, oh, I'll do that. So I don't believe there are any Catholic churches that have Stephen Ministry currently. My mentor was at St. Elizabeth, was the one in the Glasgow Parish, St. Elizabeth?
So St. Elizabeth Ann Seton.
Okay.
Yep.
And she was a leader there, so she helped us walk through, helped us with interviewing people to be Stephen ministers and looking for somebody who might be a Stephen leader. And so it just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
Luckily, Louise agreed to be a Stephen leader too, and we have another person who's a Stephen leader.
So what is the? So it's a national organization.
It's international.
International.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It was started by a person who's a minister, and he realized that people didn't. The way our world is today, we don't always live near family and friends, and we don't have people, a support group, if we have something going on. So he started the ministry. He's still head of the ministry. They're in St. Louis. And they have like 13,000 members. And again, it's non-denominational. The training is the same for every church. And you don't have to be a church. You can be an organization.
Right. Why is it called Stephen Ministry?
Because it's named after St. Stephen, because he was one of the 7 deacons when the Hellenists were saying that their widows and orphans weren't being taken care of. So that's what he did, took care of them, started that ministry, and that's why it's called St. Stephen.
Why is there a need at St. Jude Parish for this? Is it because a lot of the folks are retired and getting a little older, and it's because maybe they come from elsewhere, like you ladies do?
Right. Most of the people, especially after or during COVID, when you could start working from home, have moved there. A lot of them are retirees, but we're getting younger families, which is wonderful in our parish, in our neighborhood, and we have over 2,500 families in our parish. I think Father Lewis said there were 1,700 that come to Mass every Sunday. That's why we're enlarging the church. And the deacons and the priests don't have the time so that they could spend time with everybody in the family, anybody, or the parish, anybody who needs support.
Let's talk about that, about the people who need support. What are the types of issues that the folks are concerned about? Tell us a little bit about when you would be called in. What are some of the circumstances? Louise?
It could be the death of a loved one. It could be the loss of a job. Any life-altering situation, family situations, anybody who feels that they need to talk to somebody. And in today's world, there's a lot of stuff going on, and people are having a hard time.
And being a large parish that is in a resort community where people are come there to retire or have come there to start a business or whatever, they might not have that support group with family that lives close by.
Right. And they're searching for something.
So you have the support of your pastor, Father Lewis.
We do. Father Lewis has been wonderful about encouraging us financially, spiritually.
What is the what types of training do you folks go through? Well, first of all, about how many people are in the organization?
There are 3 leaders and 9 ministers.
Okay, wow, it's fairly busy.
That's the base. I mean, we are continuing to grow.
Right.
So we start with that.
So what kind of training do y'all go through?
Well, the leaders receive 25 hours of training in addition to several hours of preparation and practical experience. And then the Stephen ministers have to go through 50 hours of training. And they will be trained by their congregation's Stephen leaders. So we train, and we use resources from the Stephen ministries in St. Louis.
What are some of the topics that you cover in your ministry, in your training?
Empathy, listening skills, assertiveness. What else?
Caring. What's really important is we have to focus on the process. We're not curing people.
Right.
Christ is the caregiver. So we are there to listen, support, non-judgmental. Everything is confidential. even the Stephen ministers don't know of the names of the care receivers other than the one they have. None of that information is shared.
I see. So if you go to Bill Smith, you're the only person that knows about Bill Smith, and
Right.
so okay, all right, that's interesting. And at what point do you say, okay, well, maybe you need to speak with Father Lewis, or maybe you need to speak with one of the deacons, or is it the other way around? Do they talk to the father or the deacons first, and then do you, or does it matter?
Well, we haven't had that situation yet because we're brand new. So we've just through our advertising have received inquiries, and if the person if the caregiver feels that the person has issues that we cannot deal with, like psychiatric issues, we will refer them to somebody in the community.
Gotcha.
So we have, like I said, we've just started, so we haven't encountered that yet.
My guests today on Catholic Forum are Bonnie Taylor and Louise Farr, and they are members of the Stephen Ministry at St. Jude the Apostle Parish in Lewis, Delaware, and this is a brand new organization at the parish. Who would make a good Stephen minister? Who would make a good volunteer?
Anyone who has a caring heart, cares about people, is a good listener, compassionate, empathetic. Our ministers are wonderful. They're just really good people. They're spiritual people, which is so important. And we do ask our care receivers, is it okay if we pray? And if that care receiver is not comfortable with that, then we say okay. But the other thing the Stephen ministers do is we pray for our care receivers, pray that they'll get comfort from Christ, and that will help them.
So you'll meet as a group and have a group prayer service or a meeting prayer?
There's Stephen ministers are required to go to twice a month a supervision group.
Gotcha.
And we pray there. We talk about issues that Stephen ministers may be having with their care receivers, or some problems or whatever. So we meet twice a month as a group, and we do pray, and we pray all the time.
Yeah. Even when you're not with the
That's
group.
right.
Yeah. Wow. So you're like a support group for yourselves, right?
We are. That's
Yes.
what the supervision meetings are for, so that we can give our care receivers the best possible care.
Yeah.
Say if I'm having an issue that is bothering me, and we go around, we have focus questions. Well, you might think about this, or this worked for me. Again, we are not solving the problem. We're just helping them work through it.
Yeah. What's the time commitment for one of your volunteers?
Well, for the leaders, it takes, especially getting started, was a lot of work.
Right.
But the ministers have a lot of work preparing for the classes, and then they have, even if they don't have a care receiver, they're asked to come to the supervision meetings. So they're twice a month, as Louise had mentioned, and that's about 2 hours. And so there's that. Once you have a care receiver, then you meet with that care receiver once a week for an hour at wherever the care receiver wants to meet.
Right.
Preparing for the classes when we were doing classes was a lot of work. There are 3 books that we read, and for the leaders, if somebody calls into the church office, they want to talk, they're interested, so Louise and I will meet with them and see if Stephen ministry would work for them. And you never really know how much time it's going to take if somebody calls into the parish office and wants to talk to someone. So
Right.
we're most always available.
Yeah.
Well, 24/7.
Right. I would think that even if you go through the training, you read the books, you gather with your fellow caregivers, that even if you don't find somebody to receive that care, you're growing in yourself. I mean, it's kind of like you're learning to be a more empathetic listener, and you're learning to, pray and
Right.
different things. So it's one of these organizations where you get more out of it than you give.
I feel that way.
Yeah.
No, I do too.
Yeah.
I think it's been life changing for me.
Yeah. How?
I'm more concerned. Well, this was my second retirement, and I wanted to do something to fill my time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt God calling me and saying, you need to start doing God's work. And I feel that this is God's work.
Yeah.
I've just become more empathetic, a better listener, more caring.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wonderful experience.
Can you share, and I know it's your new organization and everything is confidential, but can you share some success stories?
We don't really have
You haven't?
We have
success stories with our care receivers. For us, the success is that we've started this ministry in our church. 3 leaders have been trained. 8 ministers have been trained. And we have one person that was trained before. So we think that's our success.
That's
we
the
have 3
success.
care receivers, and we're training. We post things in the bulletin about, lookouts for people who might be aware somebody's suffering. So, but there are, we have some written things that were online that we could share, not from our group, but from
Right.
Stephen Ministry.
Okay.
And there are success stories of videos online that you can access from the Stephen Ministry website. And one of them, the woman said, I began to feel God's love again. A young woman describes how her caring relationship with her Stephen minister allowed her to experience Jesus in a personal, tangible, life-transforming way. And again, these are tied into videos that are on the Stephen Ministry website. One of the people, this is someone who's a Stephen minister, it's on the front lines of care, the story of an Army captain who lost his foot in an explosion in Iraq, trained as a Stephen minister, and later returned to active duty, better equipped to care for his soldiers under his command. So, I mean, when you watch those videos, and we can't share any of our stories unless our care receiver says we can.
Right.
But when you watch those videos and see the respect and the love that they have between the Stephen minister and the care receiver, it's just really, we are doing God's work, and
Yeah.
I have to keep reminding myself every day when I think, oh, what did I get myself into? Then I read something like, this is, we all have a mission that Jesus has picked for us, and I'm going, okay, God. And we read a quote from Hollow online, and it was about, we are where we're supposed to be, and we just have to be open to Jesus' call.
Are your volunteer caregivers mostly male or female, or is it a mixed group?
We have one male,
Okay.
and when we pair our care receivers with a caregiver, it's female with female and male with male. So he does not have a care receiver yet. And then we have 8 women.
And so you're all set if you have some women who need help. Right?
Yes.
And we've only had women call in.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll get a few more men volunteers, from the parish. And you advertise the service or the ministry through the parish bulletin. Do you ever do any other types of?
We haven't. We've done Facebook. I want to talk to someone about Facebook and have Stephen Ministry as right now we're part of the Social Concerns Committee.
Right.
So we're not really on the Facebook or the parish website as a ministry.
Gotcha.
So we need to get more information out so people know about them.
Right. Maybe outreach to some of the Protestant churches, down in the area and so forth. Yeah.
And that's who I called the person at St. Peter's Episcopal Church on 2nd Street. And Eleanor talked to me, and we talked about having, I have the name also of Stephen Leader from Epworth, having them come in and just meet with our group and talk about successes or things that worked. And
Yeah. You said, that what have I gotten myself into? You said that kind of tongue in cheek. But what advice would you give to another parish, say another large parish, either down in Rehoboth or Ocean City, Maryland, or here up in the Wilmington area, or on the Eastern Shore, or Dover, who thinks, gee, this would go over really well in our parish? What advice would you give them?
Well, I think you could get in contact with Stephen Ministry, and they have a wonderful website, stephenministries.org, or you can give them a call. They're very, very helpful and very open. They give you free resources. They'd be able to guide you and decide if that is the right ministry for your church.
How long was this process for you from the time that you decided, this is something that you want to do at St. Jude's till now?
probably a year ago in June, maybe May.
Yeah. So a year and a half it took you to
Right.
get up, that's not bad.
And
No.
we went to leader training starting in August, was it?
I think it was August that we started, and then we started training our Stephen ministers in January.
Right.
Sounds like a really great ministry, and we want to thank you both for making the drive from Lewis to Wilmington to be with us today. Bonnie Taylor and Louise Farr, and for more information, they could look at the Stephen Ministry
Right.
website.
It's stephenministries.org, and their phone number is 314-428-2600. And they'll send you an information packet free, and that will give you loads of information to see if this ministry would work for their parish.
And if someone listening from the Delaware beaches area who knows somebody who might just need somebody to talk to, somebody who give a listening ear to, they can contact St. Jude.
St. Jude, and that phone number is 302-644-7300, and then one of us will call them back.
Great. Well, Bonnie and Louise, thanks so much for being with us today on Catholic Forum.
Thank you
Thank
for having
you.
me.